All right, so I hope you all saw my note on LinkedIn that today's call, we have no set agenda. It's an open Q&A day. So, we have a speaker that's going to be coming in next week to kind of kick off that for the new year. But for today, this is really open Q&A. So questions that you guys have, things you want to walk through, anything's fair game. So I did have one individual that reached out to me that had some things they wanted to work on today, but I don't see them in the invite or in the attendees here. So I'll just open it up. Does anybody have anything that they wanted to walk through? Trailhead badges, issues, super badges, issues of work, whatever it is. Like I said, open forum.
I'm studying for my study. Any of you guys have taken that?
No, Lena, I don't know if it's just me, but you broke up there a little bit. Can you try that one more time?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm studying for my field service lighting. Have any of you all taken that? And how bad is it? I'm doing the trailhead now.
I haven't taken it. I've just installed it twice in the last 6 months. So I feel like I'm pretty good at it. And have you taken any classes on it or have other than trailhead?
Yeah, I also, I've had a couple projects that I've done, field service lighting, my previous company, and then one on project with Salesforce when I joined Salesforce. But it's been like almost a good year since I've actually done the whole implementation. I have taken some courses on it and going back and doing the it's just for review. So I haven't taken a look at old tests or anything like that.
Yeah. So quick question there. Lena, are you part of the VetForce Salesforce military community?
I am not. Officially, I'm not. I should.
No, I was going to say, so
I'll reach out to my representative here in Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you were veteran military spouse, and you can go through, the VetForce community, I know that they have classes. So when you go through, like, set your goals and you go through all the trailheads, then when you get done that, you can actually take a class. So they'll give you a voucher to take a class, and then they give you the voucher to take the certification. I'm not sure if there's actually a goal in there for field service lightning, but if you were going to join the community, that might be something to look out for. The other one, focus on force. Again, I'm not sure if they have a field service lightning, practice test and course.
Thank you. I'll check on it.
Okay.
Is Service Cloud a predecessor for that kind of thing, or do you think that field service lightning is a step for that?
I would think you have to have the Service Cloud first. It's heavily, it's not field, by the way, it's Salesforce Field Service. That's the right name for it, right? They took away the lightning piece of it. So field service, and I'm sure Lena knows this too, right? It's really about that dispatch console and the connection to the mobile app. And the mobile app, what's special about the field service mobile app is that it works on and offline. So it's constantly it's a really great app for any type of CPG companies or even not just service companies, but where you pick up information and you may or may not lose internet connection along the way. So you're constantly going back and forth. The mobile app stores data, so it operates connected or disconnected and then synchronizes that as soon as it finds a connection. But the dispatch console is pretty complex in terms of setting up work types, work orders, skill sets, resources, so that might make sense. I can't imagine not knowing Service Cloud first, though. I don't know if there's a prerequisite. But,
yeah, that is a prerequisite.
Service Cloud, because if you've done admin, if you're in the newbie stage, I'll say newbie, like if you're admin and then you got your platform app builder, because that's a really good secondary admin prior to advanced, go get your Service and Sales Cloud consultant regardless, because those two are foundational to those two clouds that you're going to be working in most Salesforce licenses, right? The standard Salesforce license includes Sales and Service Cloud. So just have all four as a base.
Yeah, in order to Yeah, in order to get your field service, you have to have your Service Cloud cert before you could actually take it. So I definitely concur that you should definitely try to take your service and Sales Cloud. But Bill, yes, my internet's kind of breaking in and out today. I would definitely check on the vForce to see with my team here and go from there.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I just assume that it's my internet connection. My kids have a snow day today, and between all their computers and all their phones and everything else, usually I'm the one that suffers. Like they have perfect connections, to play Minecraft and Roblox, but Zoom doesn't work for me. So, well, cool. Yeah, let us know how that goes as far as going through that certification. It's not one that I'm familiar with, so I'm excited to hear about that. Well, cool. Any other questions that anybody would like to walk through? Like I said, open Q&A today. No set agenda, no speaker today. So just hoping to answer questions or give feedback, whatever you guys have. While we're kind of thinking about this, one thing that did come up this week for one of my clients, actually not even one of my clients. Usually that's kind of my force of habit to say that, but it is actually internally within my org. We're going through an org cleanup right now where we're cleaning up old fields that I created like 6 years ago. Now that I have a team, I have to actually keep things clean and neat. But we're cleaning up fields. We're going through deactivating old flows and process builders and that kind of thing. But before we delete all these fields, we wanted to take a backup of the objects. So for example, we have a whole bunch of account fields that we're trying to delete. And before we do that, we want to back up the account table just in case we accidentally delete something. We have a reference we can go back to and get back to that data. So a couple of different options that we would have doing that. One of them obviously is the weekly data export, where you can actually request weekly and export CSV export of all your tables within Salesforce. And that would have been my kind of standard go-to. As long as that backup run, I'd be okay, and we just delete the fields. But for whatever reason, we've been having issues with the weekly data export. And the other thing too is sometimes if you have the weekly data export from a week ago, you want to capture the data from right now, but you don't want to wait till tomorrow. You just want to get a backup done right this very second. There's a couple other options you have there, and the one that we decided to go with, I'm going to share my screen and I'll actually show you this. Let's see. So we actually went with Workbench. Is anybody not familiar with Workbench as a tool for admins or developers? If you're not familiar with it, it's actually a really cool tool that you can just go to workbench.developerforce.com. And here, let's see if I can just log out here. I'll show you the whole login thing. So what you'll see when you actually arrive here, if this works here, let's try that again. Okay, successfully logged out. So you'll land on a page that looks like this. You'll click that box here to agree to the terms of service. You can specify production or sandbox. And then you can click in this login with Salesforce. And it's going to ask you who you want to log in as. And then, of course, with multi-factor authentication, I'll have to have a fingerprint here and wait for this to come through. There we go. All right. So once you actually log in, you're kind of dropped on this kind of generic page here. And if you just go to queries and then SQL query at the top here, you can specify an object. So for example, account, and just so that I'm not blasting all of my, confidential account data here, I'm just going to specify a filter where the name is equal to resource hero. You wouldn't do this if you want to back up the whole table, but again, I just don't want to pull all my account records here. So what you can do then is you have the list of fields that you can actually pull in. And here, let me, I hear a bunch of folks coming in. I'm going to admit them all here. So you can actually specify what fields that you want to back up as part of this export. So if you just click on the first field here, make sure you miss that count one because you can't pull count as well as other fields. But if you just click on the first actual field and then scroll to the very bottom and then click on the last field, you can click query, right? And it's going to, the way I have this set up right now, it's just going to pull this into a list. So you can actually see the record that you're pulling through. You can see all the different fields. Now, if you want to get this to a CSV file, it's pretty easy. You would just click this bulk CSV option and then click query. Now, this is one of the gotchas that I wanted to share this for, because I ran into this and you felt like an idiot for a half an hour trying to figure this out. But when you select list and everything displays, you're like, oh, cool, let me just pull it to a CSV, and you click query. It brings you to the next screen, but you get an error message, right? And it says that failed to process scheduling or selecting compound data not supported in bulk query. So I had no idea what the heck that meant. But what it is, if we go back to the query, there are certain fields that Salesforce considers to be compound fields, right? So the two that we have to worry about on the account object are the billing address and the shipping address, right? So if you look at these fields, and I hope you guys can see this, it might be kind of small, but you can see that we have all the billing address fields here. We have the city, state, country, all the normal fields, but then there's also this one here that you have for billing address, and that's a compound field, meaning that if you added that onto a layout in Salesforce, just that billing address field, it's going to pull back like that. When you edit the record, it's going to pull back that cool UI where you have this, the street, city, state, normal address data entry. But if you try to export that, it doesn't know what to do with it. The bulk API can't handle that. So what we have to do is just remove all the compound fields here. So I'll get rid of billing address and I'll get rid of the shipping address. And in theory, then when I click query, it should pull back, give me that CSV file. There we go. So it completed. Now, again, I put criteria just to pull back that one record. But if you have 1,000 account records in your org, you would see this here completed and 1,000 records. And then you have that little download icon where you can click on that. It'll download the CSV file. And then in theory, you now have a backup of the account table and you can go forward with whatever updates or, deleting whatever fields that you were trying to delete as part of that cleanup exercise. But just a very quick, convenient way to back up a table before you do any kind of major changes to that table. All right, so stop share there. Does that make sense? Any questions? Either Workbench or just those compound fields? Because like I said, it got me stuck.
I love Workbench. So yeah, before starting on any projects and stuff like that, we do a workbook for our clients. And so I use Workbench a lot. That becomes your best friend.
Yeah, not just for backing up tables, but you can do other things like testing REST API calls. You can deploy packages. You can do all kinds of stuff through that. And if you happen to work for an organization that doesn't allow tools unless they're approved and they're certified and all that kind of stuff, the Workbench.developer force, that is a public tool, but you can actually take it. I think it's all open source. You can actually take that and host it within your own environment internally, or even your own Heroku instance. You can spin up your own Workbench tool if you like. So very convenient, very quick for just backing up a quick table. Data loader is another way that you can go, but I'll be honest with you, just getting data loader installed is kind of a headache with OpenJDK and all this other kind of stuff. So I'd just rather go to Workbench, log in, and good to go. So any other questions there? Any other tools you guys use to back up data in a quick way?
Do you guys have any comments on the web version of Data Loader? I've used that quite a bit for classes, and it seems to work pretty well, but I wonder if there's any concerns about that.
I'll embarrass myself and say this, but I have no idea that even exists. Anybody can share that or kind of show me what that looks like?
What are you talking about? What was your question, Steve?
About the data loader not installed on your PC, but
.io
web version.
Yeah.
Cloud version.
What's your question about IO?
So it had any problems with it, or because I find it very convenient and not having to install the software and everything works great. And I've had no problems with it. So I was just wondering if anybody else who's used it more in more of a production environment has had any issues with it.
I've only had one problem with it, and that is when I have big data jobs, I take on the free trial for $300 a month and to do the job, and then I forget to cancel the trial, and it cost me $300. They did it twice. They refunded me once, so that was my tuition. I love it. I love it better than except for I can't. There was like one situation where I had you can't do the try it free for professional, but you could try it free for enterprise version, and that $2.99, you just got to put a calendar invite to cancel it because I forget. I call them my ADD tax, but I think it works fantastic. And if you are going to purchase it and use it, especially as a consultant, that the enterprise version is $300, but you can also connect it to 10 orgs. And if you're going to set up automatic transfers or, like to have that, I haven't had any significant issues with it, except for I needed to use the PC version for something, or the desktop, the software version for something, the desktop version for something. And that was like 6 months ago, but I love it.
Yeah. That $300 a user a month, that seems pretty outrageous to me.
Well, remember, you can split it to 10 orgs. So if you're a consultant, that's $30 a month. That's not, and you can set all the tasks that you want on it. It's not bad.
Yeah. And that's a Salesforce product, or that's owned by somebody else? I'm assuming it's got to be some other vendor that owns DataLoader.io.
I think MuleSoft bought them, and then Salesforce bought. Didn't Salesforce?
Yes, it's a Salesforce product. So it is a great product to use, and like Steve, I concur with Dominique. It's, if you have big bulks and big datas and stuff, the web form is not the greatest. So it will probably require you to download the PC. But other than that, I've used it for clients that doesn't have Workbench or GitHub or anything. That's a basic, simple, friendly user to introduce clients to also.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think a few other ones I've heard, like Jitterbit and some other kind of data tools. We don't work with a lot of client data, within my organization, and we don't have a ton of data in our own work that we're backing up. So it's been a while since I've used any of these tools, but yeah, I don't know if I could swallow that $300 a user a month for like a small team admin. I can see the consulting use case, but for a small admin, I could see how that could be a bit of a challenge. All right, cool. Well, any other questions on this? Workbench, DataLoader.io, backing up data tables, compound fields. And if not, we'll open it up to any other questions. I did see a question about video not working in Zoom. I don't think I'm currently having a problem with that. I have seen people, clients, that if they have Macs, if they don't use Zoom that often, occasionally they have to approve permissions to open up camera and microphone. And occasionally you have to drop off the call, enable those things, and then rejoin the call. So I don't know if that would help, Dan. And then let's see. I think there was one other question there. Somebody asked a question about, somebody brought up superuseracademy.com. Dominic, can you kind of speak to that? I'm not familiar with that one either.
That was me. So Super User Academy is my training project that I'm working on. And so I do a live QA calls around certification. I also do anything Salesforce. It's some, what I'm putting together are what I have already. I'm not super proud of it, but a year and a half ago, I did a trail guide. Like, I walked through the Salesforce certification trails and explained along the way, and I've got those recorded. And if you just want to opt in as a vet, sign up with a live QA call, tell me you met on the vet, and I'll give you that course for free. The recordings of the videos, plus you can tap into me, plus you can ask questions. And, I train for Salesforce, and some other companies, and train internally, and been a trainer for 20 years. But this is especially for vets. I need to create a landing page. So if one of you guys wants to be tech savvy and help me do all that, like, vets, you're welcome, and spouses, and just trying to clean up the training a bit on it. But I've curated a bunch of questions, and I've videotaped a bunch of explanations on the answers, and I've got some resources of me taking the test and going through it, and some test taking tips. So it's really designed, for you guys. That's what it's for. The Super User Academy itself, I'm taking an approach that sort of upskill users, as well as turn users into super users, and super users into superheroes, which you guys are if you're learning the admin and stuff. But yeah, that's my company, and reach out to me, and I'm happy to help. It's sort of, I'm not promoting it with ads or anything like that, but yeah, that's what it is. If you went to superuseracademy.com, it's really just a chance to schedule an appointment with me. So do that if you want to just go there.
Awesome.
Put some time in my calendar, and we'll talk.
Gotcha. No, that's pretty cool. How long have you been doing that for? Is it about a year?
I've been a couple of years. It's been around, but I'm slow about my own work.
Right. No, I can completely appreciate that. All right, very cool. So I'm looking at the list here. I think I missed one from Pearl. That came a while back. Pearl, you had a question about lookups and master details and junction objects.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm studying app builder certification, so I'm going back to the basic because it's high percentage. Um, so I like to have a real example to tie the core, like a kind of like a deep dive to have the understanding about lookup and master detail with junction object, kind of more like a deep dive, not just how to say. I mean, I went to a lot of Salesforce 3 training, but it's very much they just read you the slide. But actually, if you are on the technical side and dev side, you would learn more. But I'm not a developer, but I'd like to have a little bit deeper. So kind of, I don't want to, how should I say, I would like to understand the fundamental really well instead of every time when I prepare a certification, I go back to the same core, but then I will find out, oh, I missed something previously. Does it make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what we can do is maybe do a very quick deep dive on the lookup relationships, master detail, and then we'll throw in an actual practical example that I actually dealt with one of my customers around a junction object. And I did see actually two questions that came through private, so I'm just going to address this real quick as well. For those of you that are on the call that are not veterans, you're not military spouse, you have no affiliation with the U.S. military or any other military, NATO force, whatever you want to call it, you are absolutely welcome to join these calls. While we kind of the initial focus was around the Salesforce military community, we open it to all of our allies as well, put it that way, right? So you're more than welcome to be here, and we are glad to have you. So yeah, let me actually jump into a quick example then around lookups and master details. I'm going to share my screen, and for those of you who this is your first call, or maybe you just haven't seen one of these open Q&A calls in a while because we've had a lot of speakers lately, this is where you get to see me kind of fumble around and kind of be an idiot here. So let's go through this as an example. So what I'm going to do just to kind of to demonstrate this, and let me do one thing real quick. Let's see. Okay. All right. So I'm going to create a custom object here. We're going to call this project. Okay. So let's just say we have a project object in this org. So we want to be able to keep track of the projects that spin up out of opportunities, right? So the way this the process is going to work, you have an opportunity. If that opportunity is closed won, that's going to spin up a project record. All right. So what we would do just to make sure that when we're looking at a project, we understand kind of where this project came from, what we might do is actually create a lookup to and I'm going to move you guys out of the way. We might create a lookup relationship back to the opportunity object. All right. Now, when we do this, I'm going to create it as a lookup relationship because there is a chance that we actually might have project records that get created that are not related to opportunities. Maybe they're internal projects, or maybe they're just something that we're doing on the side. So it's not related to that opportunity. So we won't want to make it a master detail and require that to be populated. We just want to make it so that we can, relate it to an opportunity if that's where it came from. Okay. So that's one of the key differences between the lookup relationship and a master detail. And that if you have a master detail, that field has to be populated. It has to have that parent record. So let me take a quick pause there, just with that very basic explanation. Does that make sense as to why in this case we would not want to create a master detail?
Can you ask the question again? Why would you not create master detail?
Yeah, does that make sense as far as in this case we want to create a lookup relationship because there might be a use case where the opportunity is not populated, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's that one R word. Is it required? Can you have the child without the parent? Then you need lookup is fine. If you can't have the child without the parent, then master detail is the way to go.
All right. Now, that being said, so here, what I want to do, I want to just jump over to into the org itself here, and I'm going to pull
I
up an
think that
opportunity.
blocks you from converting too. If you have blank ones out there in your lookup, it will stop you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you have
so
blank
what-
ones, you have to go and populate all the data before you can convert.
All right, so you can see here I have a test opportunity record, and you can see this related list now for, actually you can't see the related list. Let me refresh this, might be at the bottom here. Let's see, projects, there we go. So you can see our projects related list. And from here, if I want to spin up a new project, test project A, you can see that we can create that project. If we navigate over there to the projects tab, I can see that record, we can see the lookup to opportunity. And if I were just to go to that tab, I also have the option to just create a test project B with nothing in the opportunity field. So it'll let me create those records without a connection. Now, when the concept of a junction object comes up, this isn't something that I see on a regular basis, but this is actually a pretty important concept. So something like this might be, you have an opportunity that's going to have a bunch of projects underneath of it. And you're going to have projects that might be related to multiple opportunities. So let's just say that we kick off this project. If I go back to project A was related to this test opportunity, but it's a very big project. And halfway through the implementation of that project, there was a change order that came through. So another opportunity came through that's related to the same project, and we still want to make sure that they can be related together, right? So in that case, this project, I can't relate it, I don't want to have opportunity A lookup and then an opportunity B lookup, because, what if we get the opportunity N, right? So we don't want to have a bunch of lookup fields. So we need some way to basically relate this project back to multiple opportunities. And that's where that junction object might come into play. So what we could do is, and I'm going to come up with a horrible naming convention for this, but if we just say we're going to create a new custom object, and we're going to call this, I don't know, op projects, right? Again, horrible name, but we'll go with it for right now. So if we just did op projects, and on this object, we're going to create two lookup fields in this case. We're going to have one lookup that goes to the opportunity, and we're going to have one that goes to the project. All right. So let's do new. And in this case, because we're linking them together, I might actually select the master detail in this case for the relationship type. So we're not going to create a junction object unless both of these things are populated. So we're going to have, let me admit, here we go. So we're going to have lookup to the opportunity. So if I go to opportunity, that'll be our one side of this relationship. So we'll click next through all these, add it to the layout, save and new. And then I'm going to create another master detail relationship. And this is going to go to the project now. So if we go to project, same thing here, we'll just accept all the defaults. Click next to all these. And there you go. So basically what this junction object is going to allow us to do now, this is going to enable a many-to-many relationship between opportunities and projects. Now, visualizing this is where it gets a little hokey, but if we go in here and if we go into our related now, we have these op projects. So this test project A, not only could I link this to the original, we probably want to make that an auto number, I'll fix that later, but if we want to link this to the original opportunity like we had, we can do that. And if we have a subsequent opportunity that gets created, so test change order, same thing would apply here. We can link that same project back to this opportunity as well. So create that change order opportunity. And if we go back to our project, that test project A, and we see it's related to that, to the initial one. And again, I got to change these fields so we can see this, which I'll do again in a second here. But if we just say, this is now related to the change order, and now that this project is related to two opportunities. So what I'm going to do, just to make this more clear, because I can see how that could be confusing. Let's do two things. One, I don't want to put in names for all these junctions. So we're just going to change this to number. We're going to change that from text to auto number. So we'll call this opportunity project, and then we'll just put in some numbers starting at 1. So we'll save that. That's the first thing that we want to do. And then the second thing that I want to do is when we're displaying this on the project, we actually want to make it somewhat usable so we can see what these junctions are. So if we go to our page layout, we're going to go to that related list for that op projects that we added there, and we'll add some actual useful fields here. So we would want to have not just the that auto-generated project number, but then also we want to add in the opportunity. I'm assuming there's an opportunity name field. There we go. And there you go. So opportunity name. All right, so now if we look at our test project day and I give this a refresh, caching aside, we should be able to see now that this project is related to 2 separate opportunities. Now, likewise, on the opportunity side, if you had multiple projects that got spun up from that opportunity, this junction object would work in the same way. So if I were to jump back over to our test opportunity, if there were multiple projects spun up from here, we can basically create them, and have them linked through that junction object back to the same opportunity record. So a lot of clicking around, a lot of hypotheticals and bad naming conventions, but just generally speaking, Pearl, does that make sense as far as the junction object? Why, like the use cases in which you would use that junction object?
Understand this. I should say. I think I was looking for something a little bit, that person say a little bit more deeper, and he actually also tied to the security sharing, that part. So that's the part that I would like to know more.
So specifically around lookups and master details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he mentioned, because he's basically a developer, so he mentioned this is very important concept.
Yeah.
So that's the part that I would like to tie with the sharing.
Yeah.
part.
So I have a very personal experience with this, actually. So I'm one of the co-founders of an ISV app called Resource Heroes. We have an app that's on the App Exchange. And we ran into this exact same issue where we had resources representing people, employees that are working within your organization. And we had a related object underneath of that for PTO requests, right? So, people requesting time off. So, just not really thinking through this when we created it back in the day, we made that a master detail relationship. So every PTO request had to be related to a resource through a master detail. Well, the problem with that is that if you give users access to the resource record, when it is a master detail relationship, if they have access to that parent, they're going to have read access to all the PTO records as well, right? So because we use the master detail relationship, that forces that sharing relationship that if you have access to the parent, now you got access to all those child records as well. So hindsight, if I can go back and change my managed package, which they don't give us a lot of flexibility to do in a lot of cases, I would have made that a lookup relationship. And that way companies, when they install our app, they would be able to grant access, read access to the resources so people can work with the resource, select resources for assignments and things like that, but not get access to those PTO request records. So yeah, security wise, master detail, it does have that kind of limitation that you have to select either, if they have access to the parent, they're either going to have read write access to those child records or read access to the child records, but they're going to have access to them. So that would be one use case. Anybody have any other kind of use cases with the security?
Yeah, there's a lot of pros and cons to it. Not only security, but also functionality, right? So like, for example, if you do a master detail relationship like you did with your projects on the opportunities, then you have cool out-of-the-box capability for things like roll-ups and being able to say how many projects are on each opportunity, which is cool. You can't do that with a lookup relationship, right? So you really do need, there's a pretty good Salesforce article, help article on the difference between lookup and master detail relationships. And you've really got to look at the matrix and say, to Bill's point, is there a security concern we need to think about for record access? Is there a roll-up need? Is there a, what is it that we're trying to do with this relationship?
Yeah, And Dominic, to answer your question, no. Once you create that lookup master detail relationship in a Salesforce managed package, you don't have a lot of control to change that. Or if you do, there's a lot of headaches that come along with that.
Can't you just deprecate the app and create a new app and let's give all your
just
users?
deprecate it, have all, a couple hundred customers uninstall it, and then create the new app and then have them reinstall it and back up all their data. Yes, in theory, it could be done, but
I mean, give Steve Sanders something to do. He's got nothing to do.
Yeah, so that could be a pretty big headache.
It is really hard to do like take backs in a managed package.
Yeah.
Create a new one. Let's just create a new one.
Yeah, just like that, to turnkey.
High security, resource hero.
But yeah, so Pearl, I hope that answers your question. If you want to kind of do a deeper dive, if you have other specific questions, happy to connect offline, or if we want to kind of schedule a deep dive call just on this very topic where I could be a little bit better prepared, I'm happy to do so.
Yes, thank you very much, Bill and Jen. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, now I did want to jump over to let's see. There was a question about Process Builder, and it's Dominique, right?
Yes, that's me.
Yeah. So what do you got? What's your question?
So would it be okay if I share my screen real quick just to make it
Yeah,
easier for everyone
absolutely.
to see? Cool. Thank you.
Figure out when my camera just kind of wigged out. There you go.
Okay, let me hide this bar.
Now, Dominique, before you get started, I'm not going to give you a hard time about this, but I would say the first problem that you ran into with Process Builder is that you decided to use Process Builder instead of Flow. But
well,
there you go.
I don't think I could cross over to the dark side quite yet.
I said the same thing, but yeah, good.
I mean, if we want to solution that way, I mean, I'm open to it. And this is probably one of the simpler asks, but I will say, even with Process Builder, I haven't had any luck. So hopefully this is a silly.
I think it's just that it's right. It's essentially a deprecated solution, deprecated tool now.
Oh, I know it, but I just cannot get behind flows yet. Anyhow,
right, well, before we give you any more of a hard time, let's just see what your use case is and your problem is.
Then
we'll harass you. So good, yeah.
So I replicated some of this just to use for my example today. I have a client who has a status field on their opportunity object. Yep. They also have this quote submitted date field.
Yep.
And they want me to create a process where if this field is not null and the status of the opportunity has been active for 8 months since the quote submitted date, they want the status to update to cold, and then they want an email alert to go out to the opportunity owner, letting them know that their opportunity has now went into a cold status.
Yeah.
So it seems fairly simple. So I'm kind of just banging my head against the wall, wondering what my disconnect is here.
Yeah. So let me say that back to you, just make sure I understand. So you have the two opportunity fields here. The quote submitted date. If the status is active and it's been 8 months since that quote submitted date, you want to automatically update that status to cold and then send an email to somebody so they can look into it.
Yes.
What happens to the status for what would that change to if you didn't want this to happen? Like, would it be something else other than active, like completed or?
No, honestly, I don't even know why they really love using status field on the opportunity, but this has been historically what they always have it in. And he's running into issues where tons of his opportunities are inactive and they're just sitting there for sometimes up to a year. So that's the problem.
All right. So, and this would only, I'm assuming this would only run for like open opportunities. You won't want that to run for cold, or I'm sorry, for closed opportunities. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So just, if I was kind of solutioning this on the fly here, probably what I would do, I would probably avoid any of those, record triggered, based on dates, like scheduled flows, or I'm sorry, not scheduled flows, but basically like the time-based workflows.
3 Thursdays. If you look at the 1st of December was a Wednesday. Just if they go for the 1st of December to the 3rd.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I hope I didn't talk over somebody there, but yeah. So I would probably avoid all those kind of time-dependent workflows and all that kind of stuff. And I might actually just run this as like a scheduled daily flow. So create a scheduled flow that's going to query all of your open opportunities. where the quote submitted date is more than 8 months into the past and the status is active, and then just
Okay.
run a record update on those to set those to cold. I'm happy to run through a quick example of that if you would like.
Yeah. Do you want me to stop sharing?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the other option is you can share, and we can actually build this out in your org, and we'll just kind of walk you through it, if that would help.
I mean, if you were willing.
Yeah, let's do it.
I
Let's
was
share.
gonna say, yeah, let's just share, build the flow.
All right. So if you
All
go
right, let me
to setup,
let's get back to the right type of process builder.
yeah, all the
here,
cool
right?
kids are using Flow now. I don't want to give you a hard time.
Yeah,
but,
my
you know.
current org, they use it. I'm, slowly but surely getting pulled in that direction, but.
All right, so let's go to a new flow. And in this case, this is going to be a scheduled flow, scheduled triggered flow. Okay, we'll do free form because auto layout's lame, in my opinion. And from here, okay, so let's choose the object. Okay, this is going to be opportunity, right? And then for the conditions, let's kind of give this some thought here. So this is going to be, we want to find all opportunity records where the status field is active. So let's start there. Okay, and then for the date part of this, let's actually not put anything in there for right now. Let's just delete that second criteria that you have.
Okay.
And then click done. And again, if somebody has a better idea of how to do this, let me know. But just to get that 8 months ago, I want to create that as a formula first, and then we'll compare that to the formula field. So over on the left side there, go in the Manage tab, and there you go, new resource. So we're going to create a formula, and it's going to be, call it like 8 months ago or whatever you want to call this thing. No spaces
Yeah.
for the API name. Yeah, you can't start with a number
And
either.
I'm just gonna put.
There you go. That works. Okay, so we're going to make this a date field. And then I'm sure there's a slicker, cooler way to do this, but for the formula, I would just put in today. So you can ignore that thing and close that thing. You don't want to put in there, just on the input underneath of that.
Oh,
Yeah, just put in
sorry.
today with the open close parenthesis. Minus, and then if we just do some quick math, what is 8 months in days?
243.
There you go. So 243. So minus 243. So that is going to represent a date that is 8 months ago into the past. Okay, so let's go ahead and click done here. All right, now let's go back into your opening criteria. So if you click on the edit there under that start block, let's add that second condition. And we're going to put where that quote, whatchamacallit field that you had there.
Yep.
Is, now let's see, not equal or not. Yes, this is where I got to think about this. We want to make it so where that date is less than less than our field. So less than or equal, I think. Yeah, less than equal. It's going to be 1 day difference. You can tweak that later. But then we want to select our formula field from here. And I guess it's not letting you do that. So you got to specify an actual field. Okay, so I think that's okay. Let's actually just delete that criteria. We're going to do this slightly different way. And I guess let's think about this. Let's actually delete that first one too. Let's get rid of this. And
You want to change it or just delete this?
no, I think what we want to do. Let's just get out of here. Just change that. And if you click on edit again, we're not going to run this on the opportunity object. We're going to do this a slightly different way. So go and click edit there and delete the opportunity. And if you click on the conditions, instead of that being an and, you should be able to change it to just, there we go. That's perfect, just like that. Go ahead and click done. So we're not even going to select an object. All right, but what we're going to do, and let me think through this. We should be able to just run an update records, and we can then use the criteria there where we update every opportunity active date. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's drag that update records over into the right. All right, so we're going to say update all inactive ops or whatever you want to call that thing. And you can make that, that's not an API name, so you can just type whatever you like there. All right, then we're going to specify conditions. So we're going to update all opportunities. So search for opportunity there. So we're going to update all opportunities where the status field equals active. Okay, where the quote, whatchamacallit date is less than or equal to our formula field. Okay, and then add another condition there where the status or stage name is not closed or is closed, false, whatever makes the most sense there, depending on what stages you got in there. Yeah, I think, okay, there you go. So it's not closed, lost. All right, so just kind of thinking through this, we want to find, in just going from the top down to the bottom, we want to find all opportunities where the status is equal to active, where the quote submitted date is less than or equal to the last, like that date that we have there. So 8 months ago, so it's older than 8 months ago, and the stage name is not closed, lost. And when we find those records, we want to make an update, which is going to be, set the status to cold. And just for now, let's click done, right? So just to kind of save that before we do anything. So if all you wanted to do was have this so that on a nightly basis, it's going to find all those records that are, in that status and just update them to cold, this would get you there, right?
Okay.
But you have that additional criteria too. You wanted to make it so that not only do you set it to be cold, but you also want to then generate an email to somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 2 ways that we can do this, and I'm going to pull up, just make sure I have my chat here. Okay, so yeah, a couple ways that we can do that. We can either do it in the same flow, so basically modify this where we get all the opportunities, and then you got to start thinking about, well, how many emails do you want to send? Are you sending just one overall to say, hey, you had some opportunities that are now, set to cold? Do you want to send one email per opportunity? So what's that look like as far as like how many?
Yeah, he wants to do it on an individual basis. So even if it was 2 opportunities for the same opportunity owner, he wants a email to go for each record.
An email for each record. Okay. All right. So in that case, let's go ahead and connect that start block to this update records. And I guess if I had to think about this, how would we do this? I guess we'd want to iterate through each one and send an email for each one of them.
And likely there's only going to be maybe one each night. A lot of their records are very much spread out date-wise. And I know this just because I did their data migration. So not many fall on the same day.
Okay, so if we're gonna send an email for each one of them, maybe the better approach then, instead of just updating the records as part of that update block, we're gonna get the opportunities first. We're gonna have a loop that's gonna go through each one of them, and then for each one of them, we're gonna update the status and send the email. Okay, so slightly different way that we're gonna do this here. So. Maybe leave what you have there just for now. We'll leave that update records there, but go ahead and pull over a get records. And we're going to do the same criteria that we had for the first one. So we're just going to call this like get all cold ops, or however you want to word that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so same thing. We're going to get all opportunities where all the criteria that we had. So, status is active, date field is less than 8 months ago, and is closed, false, or, stage is not closed, lost. Okay, and then just make sure if you scroll down there where it says how many records to store, we want to get all records. All right, so
does she need to add stage name does not equal closed one as well? Otherwise, that's going to update those.
Yeah, great point. So if let's just add a condition there, and stage name not equal to closed one.
What about do I need to do anything to account for records that don't have the quote submitted date filled out? So not does not equal null or?
Yeah, it's something that we can look at, but I'm pretty sure that when you do less than a date, I don't think it's going to have null value should automatically be filtered out there. But that's
Okay,
something you'd
okay.
want to test. And of course, we can always just put a thing in there, add a condition where the quote submitted date is null false. You just throw that in
Okay.
just for safety. Yeah, let's go ahead and click done here. Okay, and then so we get all the records, and now we're going to loop through them. All right, so let's put a loop there.
My first loop, guys.
Yeah, so we'll do like for each opportunity or something like that. Okay, so go ahead and for your collection variable, we're going to select the opportunities from that get all cold ops. Okay, we're just going to iterate from first to last. So go ahead and click done. All right, so let's connect that get records to the loop. We can ignore that update records one for right now. All right, so we're just going to connect that. Now, what do we want to do? So this loop, it's going to iterate through each individual one of them, and then we're going to put some steps in here where, you know, for each record, what do we want to do? Well, the first thing that we want to do is set the state or the status, right? So go ahead and grab an assignment element over on the left there, and we're going to pull that over there. And we want to say, you know, update status. All right, so for the variable, this is where it's you know, something if you've never worked with loops, this is the first thing to know. You're going to see a new variable created called current item from loop. So you can see that there. So you want to click on that. So for that record that we're currently looking at, go ahead and select the status field now. And we're going to set that equal to cold. So that was kind of step one. All right, so go ahead and click done there. Okay, now to connect this, when you connect the loop to that assignment block, it's going to give you an option like, do you want to do this for each one? Is this the final step? What are we doing here? So go ahead and click that and connect it to the assignment. All right, so for each item in the collection, we want to set the status equal to cold. So go ahead and click done there. So that looks good. All right, now, again, this is one of those tricky things which I think they need to make a more clear, but we're going to add a step in here for the email. But before we do that, just to kind of show you, what you want to do is for the loop, you have to close the loop, so to speak, right? So you got to grab that assignment that we have there, and we're going to connect it back to the loop. So we want to say, okay, update the status, but then go back and get the next record and keep going, right? So it's going to iterate through, it's going to do all the updating the statuses, and then eventually we want to make the update. We actually want to process the update. So go ahead and grab the update records now. Not the one that we have there. We can actually get rid of that one now, just to alleviate confusion that I'm causing here. But yeah, grab update records. We're going to pull that over. And in this case, we're going to say update all opportunities. Okay, and in this case, we don't have to specify conditions. We're just going to specify the collection now. So the get all ops, you know, that we have there. So opportunities from get all cold ops. So if we hit done now, and we'll connect it, and we'll just kind of walk through to explain this. So now connect that, the loop block that we have here to that update all records. So if you grab, nope, the other way. So from the loop, connect it there, and it'll say, okay, after the last item. So if you connect the start now to your get records, let's just walk through this, and then we'll add that email step in here as well. All right, so the way this is going to work, whatever schedule that you're going to set, so nightly at 5 p.m., whatever it is, we're going to get all opportunities that match that criteria. So they're in the past, they're active, not closed, all that stuff. And if we find 10 of them, 4 of them, whatever it is, we're going to loop through each one. And for each one of them, we're going to set the status equal to cold. And then once we're done looping through and iterating through each one of those, when we're all said and done, we're going to send it over there, and we're going to update the records and actually commit it into the database. All right.
Okay.
So that being said, now that we have that, that's like the basic one.
Quick question. Could you?
Yeah.
Could you click on the assignment block real quick? Just so I can see that again. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry to interrupt there.
All right. Now, yeah, no problem. So the final thing here is now we want to actually have that email go out. And just a couple clarifying things about the email. I'm assuming you want that to go to the opportunity owner?
Yes.
Okay. So again, let's I don't want to say fumble through this, but let's kind of fumble through this. So if you grab an action on the left there and pull that over onto our canvas. Now, if you just keep it set as all, and then over on the right side, just type in the word email. So you should have the simple email, the bottom one there. Okay. Now we just got to fill in the blocks here. Okay, and then
Okay.
the body and things like that, we can actually create text templates and things, but just for now, just type in test. And for the subject, update your opportunities, clown or something like that, whatever you want to put in there. And then for the email address, we're going to select the comma separated one.
Okay.
And what you can do if you click into that, so now you want to go to the current item from Loop. That's the opportunity. Okay, and then we want to go to the owner. Now, when you type in the word owner, you're going to see two of them pop up there. You want to go to that one that's got the kind of dash thingy there, or the greater than sign, because that's going to take you to the actual owner, the actual user record for the owner. So if you click on that, it'll bring up another list
Oh,
of
you
fields.
froze a bit.
Oh, can you hear me now?
It's the one with the carrot.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now or no?
Would it just be email or?
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I told you my kids are probably downstairs playing Valheim or something, and my Zoom is the one that suffers. Yes. So you got that one that's got the greater than sign that takes you to the user object for the owner, and then yes, select the email from there. So,
Okay.
okay. And then so there's a bunch of other options that we would want to select here, but just for now, just for testing purposes, let's go ahead and click done. See if it yells at us. Nope. Okay. So now the one connection that we had from the update status that went back to the loop, let's actually click on that line. So the one that's going into the loop, not that one, but the one that's actually got, not that one either. Yes, that one. So go ahead and delete that. Just hit the delete key on your keyboard. So you highlight it, like click on it, highlight it, and then click delete. And now connect that assignment over to that email step. Okay, and then you want to connect that email step back to the loop. Okay, now
Awesome.
I really don't like the auto layout, but just for now, if you click on that auto layout beta toggle that's at the top there, then hit lose positions. Okay, and then click on that button again, that toggle again. Okay, so it kind of lays it out real nice for you. But here, so this kind of the way this is going to go. We'll set our schedule. We'll get all the opportunities that need to be updated, and then for each one of them, we're going to update the status to that status that you need. We're going to send the email to the user, and then after all is said and done, we're going to update the record, all those records. So in theory, just what you have here, of course, you want to clean up that email step, to make it a little bit more clear as far as the text that you're going to put in there and everything else. But that's kind of the framework of what you need here.
You are amazing. Thank you, everyone. I will test this and iron out those last bits of detail, but I really appreciate it. And just thank you again for walking me through.
So is that going to send an email for every single one individually? Yeah.
Yes.
Is there a way to
batch them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think I think from an architect perspective, scalability would definitely be a concern with a setup like this. Like if you had thousands of opportunities you were updating, I would start to be concerned about email limits and things like that. But I think there's a couple of things that are kind of working for us here. One, from the design, the small number of records. You definitely want to plan for the worst, but if it's a small number of records, I think you'd be okay. And then also, and maybe somebody on the call could speak to this that might know a little bit more, but from an email external, like sending out emails limit, I think you get a break if you're emailing your internal users versus email and external like contacts and things like that. So
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think that that you might be okay in that case. So just to jump back here, just so you can save this before something catastrophic happens. If you click on set schedule there, you can set that to just today's date. Put it like 5 p.m. or whatever it is. There you go. And then for the frequency, daily.
Cool.
Okay, and then like I said, save that before something catastrophic happens. But yeah, so in theory that should work. Now that's a great question about the scalability of this to making sure that you're not going to hit any kind of limits. Sending those emails. And I'm not really sure. I'm going to give that some thought to see if there's a way to kind of batch all the emails together and then send them all at one time. I don't know if you can do that through Flow.
And I don't know, like I would probably even avoid sending an email just if these are like in my philosophy of you should have these up to date anyway, dude. And I know there's bulk and but from a sales perspective, just sending them an email is fine. I would probably avoid sending an email at all and just do a chatter notification or just that's why you have list views, right? I mean, you have list views to manage, and it's kind of my soapbox. List views. Every user should check their list views every day, experiment every day, try something new every day, batch it new. Like list views are the keys to the productivity kingdom if you're a Salesforce user. And then reports and dashboards follow it up if you want to be sane to validate your data every week as a user to self-manage. Like those are the two tools that you should be using. And not enough people are, in my humble and very outspoken opinion, not enough people emphasize to the users that message. You go and create them a report as an admin because you're a good person, but you're doing a bad thing. Or you send them an email, you should just say, oh, let me show you how to create a list view for that thing you're asking me for a notification on. Because it's such a bad practice to be, it's better to be habit routine dependent than it is email notification dependent.
Well,
in my humble.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So just one final note here. I know we're at time. So one way that you might address that then is if you do create a list view for the users, like opportunities recently switched to cold, something like that. What you can then do as part of that loop, instead of actually sending the email every single time for every opportunity record, you could just grab the opportunity owner and be adding that into a list. And then after you've gone through and updated all the records, you're going to take that list, send a single email to each user to say, hey, you have opportunities that were switched from active to cold. Click here to view them. And that link that you give them in part of that email would actually take them to the list view that would show them the records that have been recently changed, right? So that might be a way to tackle it. Again, scalability, that might be the better option as well, just because you don't have to worry about sending an email for each individual opportunity. But sometimes if that's the requirement, that's the requirement. But yeah, there might be some other options, or even Slack notifications or things like that.
Dirty little secret, Bill. Thank you for that demonstration. I have resisted flows more than Dominique has. And big fan of process. I still like workflows, but I'm okay that they're going away. But like secret time, that was a great example of the logic. And I think that's what I think scares people. And it's getting less and less techie looking. I know that's what kind of avoided me. Like there's a lot of like double steps, and I think flow is still positioned as users, as developers would like to see it in that developer language. And I think they're going to develop it more to be more like humans would use it. Not,
Pretty sure you just called me not human. I'm a developer using flows, some other kind of status here. What's going on here?
I'm just saying, I'm saying regular humans, not you.
Yeah.
Not you, the super duper human. I'm just saying regular humans getting into it, right? It's just
developer mutants over here,
Yeah, right.
But no, I would agree. I resisted going to flow for the longest time. I was either process builder or triggers, like writing Apex. But the more and more I use flow and all the additions they've added with screen-based flows, record triggered flows, delete triggered flows, there's so much you can do now with flows that you just can't do anywhere else in the application unless you're writing code. So I definitely think it's worthwhile to to pick that up. I did see something too that they're actually pushing something out that's going to allow you to migrate from your workflow roles to flows, which is pretty slick. They don't have to do all that manually. After I did it all, or my team did it all manually in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, no. So I hope that was helpful. I know one of the things that, just a final point then on flows. One of the things sometimes there's a couple different schools of thought here. You can kind of sit down, document it out exactly how you want it to work, make sure that everything makes sense, and then get in there and start building it. I tend not to take that approach. As you can see during this demonstration, I actually bring up the flow builder. I'll start building the thing, that ain't gonna work. Okay, let's delete that. Let's try something else. And I don't know, that works for me, right? So, it's forgiving in that if you make a mistake, you just delete that little element and grab the element that you need and try it a different way. So, and I've been working on the platform for 15 years. I'm a developer, I have my own app on the App Exchange, and that's still the way I do it. So if you're new and you're not getting it right on the first try, that's perfectly fine. Nobody nobody built it correct on the first try. So don't feel bad if you have to kind of fumble around a little bit. So yeah, well, I hope that's helpful. Like I said, what I'm going to do, my last thing is I'm going to put my email address into the chat here. So if anybody has any questions or follow-ups that you want, you can either shoot me an email or hit me up on Slack Connect. And of course, if you're not a member of our group on LinkedIn, I suggest that you become a member of that group so that you get updates as to all the other things that we're doing with speakers and different events and things. So I will post a link to that group here as well. And if you have any questions, I hope to see you all there or see you next week. So thank you. Appreciate it, everybody. Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, Bill.